She slammed that paper on my porch and said, "You owe the HOA $120,000, sir." I looked at her, heels sinking in the dirt, fake smile tighter than her clipboard. The sun was setting behind my fence, the one I built with my own hands. "Ma'am," I said slowly, "this land isn't part of any HOA." She laughed, loud enough for the neighbors to peek through blinds. "Oh, it is now," she said. "We just extended the boundary last month." That's when I noticed the bold red stamp on the paper. Final notice. My stomach dropped. I'd bought this ranch 6 months ago, clear title, no liens. But here she was, acting like she owned half the valley. When I told her to leave, she leaned closer. "We can have your property seized if you don't pay by Friday. I'd hate for your animals to go missing." Her words hit harder than a slap. I took a breath, held it. "Is that a threat?" She tilted her sunglasses down. "It's a warning." Then she turned and walked off, heels crunching gravel like gunfire. I stood there watching dust rise from her SUV as it sped off. My dog barked toward the road, sensing something wasn't right. I checked the notice again. No HOA name, no signature, just a cheap stamp and a fake seal. But the part that chilled me, at the bottom, in shaky handwriting, it said, "Failure to comply will result in law enforcement action," and under it, my full name and address spelled perfectly. That night I couldn't sleep. Every time the wind brushed the old barn doors, I thought it was someone coming back. Around midnight, my dog growled low, the kind of growl that means he smells trouble. I grabbed the flashlight and stepped out onto the porch, headlights, parked across the road, engine off, but someone was inside, watching. I called out, "You lost?" No answer, just a click, camera shutter maybe. Then the car rolled away slow, like it didn't care I was looking right at it. Next morning I went into town. The county clerk knew me by now. I just filed the ranch deed months earlier. "Any chance you can check if an HOA exists out here?" I asked. She typed a few things, frowned, then turned the monitor toward me. "No HOA registered within 10 miles of your property," she said. "But someone did try to file a claim last week under a name called Oak Valley Preservation Society." My chest tightened. "That's them," I muttered. She leaned closer. "Whoever it is, they don't have any legal standing. Looks like they used a fake notary." I drove home faster than I should have, dust cloud trailing behind. When I pulled up to the gate, I froze. My mailbox was open. Inside was another envelope. Same fake seal, same red stamp. This time it said, "Property under review for compliance, access required." There were fresh tire tracks on my driveway. Deep ones. Someone had already been inside. I ran straight to the barn, door wide open, lock snapped clean. My tools were scattered, the feed barrels turned over like someone had been searching for something. My cameras, the ones I'd mounted under the roof beams, gone. Every single one. Then I heard a voice behind me. "You're trespassing on HOA-monitored land now." I turned. It was her again. Same woman, clipboard in hand, but this time she wasn't alone. 2 men stood behind her wearing what looked like security uniforms. No badges, no names, just black polos with cheap patches that said HOA Enforcement Division. "You broke into my barn," I said, stepping closer. She smiled. "We conducted an inspection, routine procedure." "Inspection?" I almost laughed. "You cut my locks." "Sir," she interrupted, tone sharp like glass. "If you continue resisting HOA orders, we'll be forced to escalate. We've already contacted the sheriff." That hit me hard. The sheriff and I served together 15 years ago, back when I wore the uniform. I took one slow breath. "Good," I said. "Call him." Her smirk faded a little. "Excuse me?" "Call the sheriff. Tell him who you're trying to scare." For the first time, she looked unsure. Her men glanced at each other. Then she snapped, "Let's go. He'll learn the hard way." As their truck disappeared down the dirt road, I pulled my phone out. I hadn't told anyone about my service record, or that the cameras I'd installed had a hidden backup drive in the attic. I climbed up, heart pounding, and when I checked the footage, I froze. The night before, at exactly 2:13 a.m., her security truck was parked right by my porch. One of the men stepped out and placed something under the wooden steps, a black box blinking red. I knelt by the porch, my hands shaking a little. The soil was still loose where they'd buried it. I brushed away the dirt until I saw it, small black device flashing faint red. It wasn't a bomb. It was a tracker. They were watching me. I wrapped it in a rag and tossed it into an old coffee can. Then I drove straight to the sheriff's office. As soon as I walked in, the deputy at the counter looked up. "Hey, aren't you the guy with the ranch past Miller Creek?" "Yeah," I said, setting the can on the counter. "And someone's planting things under my house." He frowned and called the sheriff out. When Sheriff Hayes stepped into the room, his eyes went wide. "Well, I'll be damned," he said. "Didn't expect to see you back in uniform again." "Not in uniform anymore," I said quietly. "But I think I'm being set up." We took the device to the back room. Hayes popped the lid open and stared. "GPS tracker, connected to a private security database. HOA Enforcement Division. Never heard of it." I nodded. "Neither have I. They've been showing up at my place claiming I owe $120 grand. The sheriff scratched his chin. "That woman's name wouldn't be Patricia Lowell, would it?" I blinked. "How do you know that?" He sighed. "Because she filed a complaint this morning. Said you threatened her with a weapon on her property." For a second, the room went quiet. My heart dropped. "That's a lie." "I believe you," Hayes said. "But if she's gone that far, she's planning something bigger. And judging by this tracker, she's got help." He pulled open his drawer and slid a small folder toward me. Inside were photos: Patricia, the same men from her security crew, and another guy in a suit shaking her hand in front of a luxury sign that read, Oak Valley Holdings. "That's not an HOA, Hayes said. "That's a real estate front, and it looks like they're trying to take over private land one fake notice at a time." I clenched my fists. Then they picked the wrong ranch. That night, I parked my truck down the road and killed the lights. If they were coming back, I wanted to see it happen with my own eyes. My dog sat beside me, growling low every time the wind shifted. Around 1 a.m., a pair of headlights appeared. Same black SUV, same fake security decals. 3 figures stepped out. One of them carried a crowbar, the other a folder. Patricia stood between them, barking orders like she owned the place. I hit record on my dash cam. "Let's see how far you'll go," I whispered. They headed straight for my barn again. I followed quietly on foot, keeping to the shadows. Patricia's voice was sharp in the cold air. "We'll put the signs up tonight. Tomorrow he'll wake up to official eviction notices." The man with the crowbar jammed it under my lock again. But this time, the moment it snapped, the barn lights exploded on. My motion sensors had been rewired to a silent alert I'd installed that afternoon. Patricia spun around, blinded. "Who's there?" I stepped out from behind the tractor, holding up my phone. "Smile. You're live on my cloud feed." Her face went pale. "You can't record HOA operations." "Funny," I said, "because the sheriff says there's no HOA within 10 miles. The men froze. One of them started backing away, mumbling something about not signing up for this. Then the wail of sirens cut through the night. Sheriff Hayes's cruiser came roaring up the driveway, lights flooding the field. Patricia tried to wave him down, pretending she was the victim again. "Sheriff, arrest him. He's threatening us," she shouted, voice cracking. Hayes stepped out slowly, hand resting on his holster. "Yeah, I've heard that story before, ma'am," he said. "But this time we've got footage." Her eyes darted to me, fury and panic fighting for space on her face. "You set me up." "No," I said, stepping closer. "You did that yourself." Patricia froze as the sheriff's deputies cuffed her men. She kept shouting about rights and jurisdictions, but no one was listening anymore. Hayes pulled out the tracker I'd found earlier and held it up to her face. "This yours?" he asked. She hesitated. "It's part of our HOA compliance kit." "There is no HOA, Patricia." Hayes cut her off. "You've been impersonating officials and trespassing on private property. That's a felony." For a second, the tough act dropped. Her lips trembled. "You don't understand," she said quietly. "It's bigger than me." I stepped forward. "Then start explaining." She looked between me and the sheriff, then whispered, "They promised me the land if I helped them. Oak Valley Holdings said they had government approval." Hayes narrowed his eyes. "And who's they?" Patricia hesitated again, then sighed. "A man named Grant Lowell, my ex-husband. He runs the company. He's buying up the valley piece by piece. And anyone who refuses, he sends us to fix the problem." I felt the air leave my lungs. "So this wasn't about HOA dues, it was a land grab." She nodded, eyes glassy. "You were supposed to get scared and sell, that's all." The sheriff looked at me. "Looks like your neighbor just opened a door to something bigger." Hayes ordered the deputies to take Patricia in for questioning. As they drove off, I watched the dust swirl behind their cars. The night was quiet again, but it didn't feel like a win, because if her ex-husband was really behind all this, and if he had money and fake papers, and then this wasn't over. I walked back up to the porch. My dog followed, tail low, eyes fixed on the road. A single thought burned in my mind. If Grant Lowell wanted to fight for this land, he was about to get one. The next morning, the sun came up red. That strange kind of light that makes everything feel like it's holding its breath. I poured black coffee, stared out over the fence line, and waited. By noon it came, a black Escalade rolling up the dirt road, windows tinted, polished like it didn't belong anywhere near dust. A man in a gray suit stepped out. "Clean, calm, dangerous, Mr. Grant Lowell," I said before he could open his mouth. He smiled. "So she told you about me?" "Yeah," I said, setting my mug down. "And about your fake company." He laughed like this was all entertainment. "Fake? No. You don't get it. I own Oak Valley Holdings. We have plans here, luxury estates, golf, gated access. This old ranch doesn't fit the vision." "Too bad," I said, "because it's not for sale." He stepped closer, lowering his voice. "Everyone's got a price. I already paid mine," I said. "In uniform. To protect this land and people like me from people like you." His smirk faded. "So the sheriff's boy is a soldier too. That explains the attitude." Before I could answer, a second SUV pulled up behind him. County vehicles this time. Sheriff Hayes got out, holding a thick folder. "Afternoon, Grant," he said. "Funny running into you, especially since I just got a warrant." Grant's smile twitched. "For what?" "For fraud, illegal land acquisition, and impersonating government officials." Hayes flipped open the file. Patricia already started talking. For the first time, Grant's confidence cracked. "She wouldn't." "She did," I said. "And we've got your trucks on camera, breaking into my property." He turned toward his Escalade, but the deputies were already there, blocking him. Hayes nodded to me. "We'll handle it from here." Grant glared one last time. "You think this ends with me? There's more money behind this than you know." "Maybe," I said, stepping closer. "But you just lost the land you were standing on." Grant's words echoed in my head long after the sirens faded down the road. I stood there for a moment, staring at the empty space where his car had been, breathing in the smell of dust and smoke. My land was quiet again, the way it should have been all along. A few days later, the county posted an official notice on the fence. Property legally owned. No HOA jurisdiction. That paper meant more than any medal I'd ever earned. Hayes stopped by that evening with a grin. "The DA's loving this," he said. "Turns out Lowell's been running that scam all across 3 counties. You just helped take down $1 million operation." I nodded, half smiling. "Guess I did my part again," he chuckled. "You always do." Then he turned serious. "You staying?" "Yeah," I said, looking out toward the hills. "This land's not just dirt. It's history, sweat, and the only thing left that's truly mine." Hayes gave a nod and drove off, leaving me in the quiet hum of crickets and wind. My dog lay by my boots, calm for the first time in weeks. The porch light flickered softly over the wood where the tracker had been buried. I walked out to the gate, looked at the stars stretching over the valley, and felt that weight finally lift. People like Patricia and Grant thought power came from money, papers, fake titles. But real power? It's standing your ground when everyone's trying to take it from you. I ran my hand along the fence post, solid, steady. "Not today," I whispered. Then I turned back toward the house. light glowing through the windows like home had finally come back, because I didn't fight for this country to be told I can't live free on my own land. And this time, everyone knew it.